My parents said, "We'll give the house to your sister." I said, "Perfect," and stayed calm. The next day, I sold the land it was built on and disappeared. By morning, there were 42 missed calls and my mother was crying. My father said it at Sunday dinner. "We've decided to give the house to your sister." We were in their dining room, the house I'd helped renovate, the one I'd paid property taxes on for 3 years when they couldn't afford it. My sister Rachel sat across from me, smiling, triumphant. I set down my fork. "The whole house?" "Yes," my mother said, not looking at me. "Rachel needs it more. She has the kids, you're single, you have your apartment." The chandelier above us hummed. Someone's fork scraped against a plate. The kitchen faucet dripped in the background. I'd been paying their mortgage, $200 a month for 4 years. Rachel hadn't contributed a dime. "You understand, don't you?" my father asked. "Family helps family." I looked at Rachel, at her smug expression, the way she sat back in her chair like she'd already won. Then at my parents, waiting for me to make a scene, to yell, to argue. "Perfect," I said calmly. "That makes sense." My mother blinked. "Really?" "Yeah, Rachel needs it more." They looked relieved, like they'd been bracing for a fight and suddenly didn't need to. My father nodded, went back to his pot roast. Rachel reached across the table, squeezed my hand. "Thank you for understanding." I smiled. "Of course." I finished my dinner, helped clear the dishes, laughed at my father's joke about the neighbor's dog, hugged them all goodbye at the door. "Love you guys," Rachel called from her car. "Love you too," my mother said. I waved, smiled, then I drove home. My hands were steady on the wheel. My breathing was calm, but inside, something cold was calculating. The apartment felt different when I walked in, quieter, emptier. I stood in the kitchen, looked around at the modest space I'd been renting for 6 years, while Rachel got the house I'd saved. I opened a beer, sat on the couch, stared at the wall, thought about every Sunday dinner, every holiday, every time they'd called asking for money. The new roof 3 years ago, $8,000. I'd paid half. The furnace 2 years ago, $4,500. I'd covered it entirely. The kitchen renovation, the new appliances, the deck repairs, all me. Rachel had been too busy with the kids, too stretched thin financially, but she'd always had money for vacations, for new cars, for private school tuition. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my bank statements. $57,600 in mortgage payments over 4 years, $11,000 in property taxes, $18,000 in repairs and renovations, $86,600 total. And now Rachel got the house because she needed it more. I set down the beer, walked to my bedroom, opened the closet. In the back, in a fire safe box, I kept important documents: birth certificate, social security card, passport, and my grandmother's will. I pulled it out, sat on the bed, read through it for the first time in years. What they didn't know, what they'd never bothered to ask about, was the land. 10 years ago, my grandmother left me something in her will. Not the house, the land underneath it. A legal quirk from decades back when the property was subdivided. The house was built on land my grandmother owned separately. When she died, she left the structure to my parents, but the land, that went to me. I read the section 3 times to make sure I understood it correctly. To my grandson, I leave the land parcel located at 447 Maple Street, comprising 0.43 acres, as designated in Deed Book 1847, page 293. The house itself, all structures and improvements, went to my parents, but the land was mine. My parents never read the fine print, never asked questions, never hired a lawyer to review the estate documents. They just assumed they owned everything. The lawyer who'd handled the estate had mentioned it once, at the reading, said something about the land being separate from the structure. My parents had nodded, not really listening, too grief-stricken to care about details. I'd been 23, fresh out of college. I'd signed the deed transfer paperwork, filed it with the county, put it in my safe deposit box and forgot about it. For 10 years, I'd let them live there, paid their taxes, fixed their roof, replaced their water heater, renovated their kitchen, never mentioned what I actually owned, because they were family. But family helps family, right? I put the will back in the box, closed the closet, went back to the living room, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, thinking. They'd used me for years, my money, my time, my labor, and the moment they didn't need me anymore, they gave everything to Rachel, because she had kids, because she needed it more. But I'd needed things too. I'd needed help with college loans. They'd told me to figure it out myself. I'd needed a co-signer for my first apartment. They'd said no. I'd needed support when I lost my job 2 years ago. They'd told me to tighten my belt. But Rachel got everything. The down payment for her car, the money for her wedding, the help with her mortgage when her husband was between jobs, and now she got the house. I opened my laptop, started searching. Real estate law, land ownership, property rights, separation of land and improvements. I read for hours, articles, case law, forums. By 2 a.m., I had my answer. The land was mine, completely, legally, and I could sell it. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Rachel's face, that smug smile, thinking about my parents, the way they'd dismissed me, expected me to just accept it. By morning, I'd made my decision. I called a real estate attorney at 9 a.m. "I need to ask about property rights," I said. "Go ahead. If I own land, but someone else owns the structure built on that land, can I sell the land?" "Absolutely," he said. "You own the land. The structure becomes the buyer's problem. Usually, they'd negotiate with the homeowner to purchase the building or arrange a land lease, and if the homeowner doesn't want to negotiate, then the new landowner can pursue legal options, eviction proceedings, proceedings if necessary, or they can demolish the structure, depending on local ordinances. My heart started beating faster. How fast can we move on this? If you have a buyer lined up, a week, maybe less. And the current residents, do I need their permission? No, you're the landowner. You have the right to sell. They'd receive notice after the sale completes, per state law. What kind of notice? Certified letter. Gives them 30 days to negotiate purchase of their structure or vacate the property. I smiled. Can you help me with this? I'd be happy to. Do you have a buyer in mind? I might. Let me make a call. I'd been sitting on an offer for years. A developer who wanted to build townhouses in that neighborhood. He'd contacted me 5 years ago after looking up land records, sent me a letter. I see you own the land at 447 Maple Street. I'm interested in purchasing for residential development. Please contact me to discuss. I'd filed the letter away, never responded, because my parents lived there, because I thought family mattered, but things change. I dug through my filing cabinet, found the letter. The developer's name was Richard Chen. He'd left a phone number. I called him that afternoon. Richard Chen. Hi, my name is David. You contacted me about 5 years ago about a property on Maple Street. Silence. The land parcel? He said. Yes. You're interested in selling? I am. Is the house still occupied? Yes. But I'm selling the land, not the house. He paused. I see. That's complicated. Is your offer still good? Let me pull up my records. I heard typing. Yes. I offered $340,000. That's still within my budget for that location. Then let's do it. Just to clarify, he said. There's a structure on the property. Are you aware? I'm aware. That's the current owner's problem. I'm selling the land. Another pause. Understood. This is unusual, but legal. I'll have my lawyer draw up the documents. Can you meet tomorrow? Absolutely. I'll need proof of ownership, the deed, survey maps if you have them. I have everything. Perfect. Let's meet at my office. 2 p.m. I'll be there. I hung up, sat back in my chair, stared at my phone. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, from anticipation. I pulled up my texts, found the family group chat. My mother had sent a message that morning. So glad we finally sorted out the house situation. Rachel, you're going to love it there. David, thanks again for being so understanding. Rachel had replied with heart emojis. I stared at the message, typed out a response. No problem. Family helps family. Hit send. Then I opened my banking app, started calculating. $340,000 for the land, minus closing costs, taxes, lawyer fees. I'd walk away with about $320,000, more than enough to buy my own place. Cash, no mortgage. Meanwhile, Rachel would get a house on land she didn't own, a house that would be worthless in a week. For the next week, I acted normal. Texted my mom about her doctor's appointment, asked how it went, told her I was glad the medication was working, sent Rachel a baby gift for her youngest, a wooden toy set, expensive, the kind she'd post about on Instagram, asked my dad about his golf game, let him tell me about his new clubs, said I was happy for him. They thought everything was fine. On Wednesday, I met with Richard Chen. His office was downtown, glass and chrome, conference room with a view. He had the paperwork ready, purchase agreement, deed transfer, title search results. Everything looks good, he said. The title is clear. You're the sole owner of the land parcel. And the house? Not my concern. My lawyer will handle notification to the current residents after we close. How long? We can close Friday if you're ready. I'm ready. We signed, shook hands. Pleasure doing business with you, he said. Likewise. The sale closed on a Friday at 10 a.m. $340,000 deposited into my account. I watched the number appear, refreshed the screen twice to make sure it was real. Minus fees and taxes, I walked away with $323,000. Richard's lawyer sent the required notice to my parents that same afternoon. Certified mail, legal and official. Notice of land sale. The land beneath your property located at 447 Maple Street has been sold. You have 30 days to negotiate purchase of the structure or vacate the premises. I turned off my phone, packed a bag, drove to a cabin I'd rented in the mountains, 3 hours away. No cell service, no internet, just silence. I spent the weekend hiking, reading, sitting by the fire, made steaks on the grill, drank good whiskey, slept 10 hours a night, not thinking about them at all. I turned my phone back on Monday morning. 42 missed calls, 37 from my mother, 5 from my father, 16 voicemails. I listened to the first one, my mother, crying, screaming. What did you do? How could you do this? That's our house. You can't just sell the land? Call me back right now. The second one, my father. This is insane. You're destroying your own family over money? We gave you everything and this is how you repay us? The third, Rachel. You selfish bastard. Mom is having a breakdown. Dad can barely function. All because you couldn't handle not getting the house? Grow up. I deleted them all without listening to the rest. There were texts too. My mother. Please call me. We need to fix this. I'm begging you. My father. The developer wants $500K for us to buy the land. We don't have that. You know we don't have that. Rachel. You're a monster. I hope you're happy. Another from my mother. We'll lose everything. Please. You can have the house. We'll give it to you. Just call off the sale. Too late for that. My father. You're no son of mine. Don't ever contact this family again. Rachel. Think about the kids. Where are we supposed to go? You're making your nieces and nephews homeless. I set the phone down, stared out at the lake, made breakfast, eggs and toast, coffee, went for another hike. The messages kept coming. My mother. I'm your mother. How can you do this to me? We raised you. We fed you. We loved you. Please. I'm begging. Just talk to us. Rachel. Mom is on medication now because of you. Dad can't sleep. Are you happy? My father. You've always been selfish. This just proves it. I didn't respond to any of them. Just kept hiking, kept reading, kept enjoying the silence. A week later, my lawyer called called. Your parents want to negotiate. For what? They're asking if you'll buy the land back from the developer and lease it to them at a reduced rate. No. They're also threatening legal action, claiming you defrauded them, that you knew about the land situation and deliberately hid it from them. On what grounds? They don't have any. The deed is clear. The will is clear. You're the legal owner, but they're desperate. Let them sue. They'll lose. He paused. You know they'll have to move, right? The developer's not budging. He wants to build. He's already got permits in process. I know. Your parents are in their 60s. This is going to be hard on them. Are you sure? I'm sure. Another pause. All right. I'll let them know you're not interested in negotiating. Thank you. By the end of the month, my parents hired a lawyer. I got a letter. Legal letterhead. Threatening language. They were claiming adverse possession, that they'd been living there long enough to have rights to the land. My lawyer responded in 2 days. Claim denied. Property taxes paid by David Peterson for 10 years. Clear assertion of ownership. No adverse possession claim possible. They tried again. Claimed I'd given them implied permission to stay indefinitely, that I'd never asked for rent or indicated I wanted them to leave. My lawyer shut that down too. No written lease, no verbal agreement on record, no legal standing. They tried to claim the will was invalid, that my grandmother didn't understand what she was doing when she separated the land from the house. The judge reviewed the estate documents, looked at my grandmother's medical records from the time the will was written. She'd been sharp, coherent, worked with a lawyer. The judge rejected their claim. The will was clear. The land went to me. The judge ruled in Richard Chen's favor. My parents had 60 days to vacate. My mother called one last time. I answered, hello? Silence. Then crying. How could you? She sobbed. We're your parents. We raised you, clothed you, fed you, and you're just going to let us lose our home? You were giving the house to Rachel, I said calmly. I just gave the land to someone else. Isn't that what family does? Gives things away without asking? That's different, is it? You decided I didn't deserve the house because Rachel needed it more. I decided you didn't deserve the land because someone else wanted it more. We never would have given her the house if we'd known what? That I actually had leverage? That you couldn't just take advantage of me forever? She was quiet, still crying. I could hear my father in the background, saying something I couldn't make out. You said family helps family, I continued. I helped you for years. Paid your mortgage, your taxes, fixed your roof, your furnace, your kitchen, and the moment you didn't need me anymore, you gave everything to Rachel. You thought I'd just take it, that I'd smile and nod and keep paying for things while you gave her everything. You were wrong. Please, you have 60 days. I suggest you start looking for apartments. I hung up, blocked all their numbers, deleted their contacts, sat in the silence, and for the first time in years, I felt light.